Hi everyone, Stepan here with another training game. Now I'm gonna try not to blunder in the opening like in the last game, which I miraculously survived. And I'm also going to try to convert the win if I get a winning position, which I messed up the game before that. Okay, we have a Semi-Slav. I didn't really talk about the opening. Now bishop d3 is a move, queen c2 is a move, depending on whether he wants to go into a Meran or anti-Meran. Okay, now bishop b3, d3 or e2. All normal. Now e4 is the main move, castles is a mistake. Alternatively, he could try a4, but then b4. e4 is... okay, yeah, now black is equal or slightly better. I talked about this position many times. If he goes a4, I go b4. If he goes queen e2, I go bishop b7. If he takes, I take with the knight to prevent a4 and to force his bishop to move again. I actually had a tournament game in this exact position. My last tournament game, the last game in the Road to GM series, was from this position. I know the position very well. I got a winning position and failed to convert. It was a very painful game. I'm actually having slight issues with, well, dealing with that game, but I'm gonna try to remedy that by winning this one. Okay, he wants to go e4, but bishop b7. Now the main choice black has here is whether to play c4 or not. If he goes e4, I'm taking on d4, and I'm not sure. The main thing is if e5 comes, I have knight d5, and I'm covering the d6 square with my bishop. So let's say e4, bishop e7, e5, knight d5, knight e4. The d6 square is still covered and he doesn't have an easy knight d6 check. Still, I think e4 is necessary. I don't see what else he plays. I mean, I could consider going e5 against e4. That's also a move. Or takes and e5. Yeah, takes e5 seems sensible. I give up the f5 square. But I feel I should have a lot of pressure. With, for example, takes, and bishop c5 maybe. Okay. So I take on d4. He takes with the knight. I go bishop c5. Free development cannot be bad. cd4, knight d4, bishop c5. I think that's the way to go. Okay, I'm gonna take and go bishop c5. If bishop c5, e5, I can take. If bishop c5, knight f3, I can then go e5, preventing knight d4 again and blocking his bishop. I feel like bishop c5 is the move, but I'm not completely sure. I don't think he has knight e6, because h5 is covered and there should be no tricks. Knight e6, f e6, e5, knight d5, queen h5, king f8. He could actually have knight e6. Okay. This I'm happy to see. So now I think bishop d6 is correct to prevent e5, or I can just allow him to take the bishop pair, although I'm not too happy about that. Do I have any forcing moves? Bishop f2, king f2, queen b6 doesn't work. If bishop d6 f4, on bishop d6 he has bishop b5, but then bishop h2, king h2, a b5, knight b5. I don't have queen b6 anymore, so bishop d6 could be a mistake. So I could just go e5. I feel like if he plays e5, I'm going to be worse. But then again, if I give up my bishop pair, I'm probably also worse. But there's a ton of pressure on e4. So if I go e5 and he takes and moves the bishop, I can take and take on e4. So that seems okay. I'm gonna go e5. So knight c5, knight c5, bishop c2, queen d1, rook d1, knight e4. I win a pawn if he takes the bishop. And if he doesn't take the bishop, I can retreat. Now I'm happy that his bishop is blocked and that I have a target. This is very common in semi-Slav positions. You get e4, e5 eventually, but the difference is usually that black's light squared bishop is attacking and white's is defending, and black's dark squared bishop is attacking and white's isn't doing anything. So in a symmetrical pawn structure, if your bishop is attacking, that's obviously better. So if knight c5 loses a pawn, which I think it does, knight c5, knight c5, okay, he doesn't take. Now, I think knight c5 still loses a pawn. I don't think I have bishop f2 and knight e4, unfortunately. So I think I have to go bishop e7 to prevent knight d5. If I go bishop b6, he goes knight d5. Yeah, I need to be preventing knight d5. If he goes f4, for now I can just ignore it. Let's look at bishop f2 again. Bishop f2, king f2, knight g4, queen g4 unfortunately doesn't work. Knight e4, knight e4 doesn't work. So yeah, I have to move my bishop, and I think e7 to prevent knight d5 is necessary. I don't have any more coffee. That's never good. Again, the structure is symmetrical, but I like my position. Of course, knight d5 now loses a piece. Yeah, I'm sorry for the noises. There's some construction going on. My neighbors seem to be drilling something all day. So what's his plan? You should probably move the bishop away from d3. And I don't think his knight is useful on b3. I'm a minute ahead on the clock, a bit more. I don't think I want to go h6, weaken my pawn structure unnecessarily, because if f4 comes at any point and the bishop opens up, I will be unable to play g6. Okay, this makes sense. He wants to go rook ad1. Against which, if I castle, I could consider b4. I could also play rook c8, and on rook ad1 I could go queen c7. I don't think I want my queen on e8. If I go b4, where does the knight go? Knight d5 loses a piece. Knight d1 takes away the square from the rook. Knight b1 blocks the rook in. So b4, knight a4, if queen a5, that's for now illegal, but bishop c6. So b4, knight a4, bishop c6. Huh, maybe queen e2 was a mistake if I have b4. So b4, knight a4, bishop c6, what does he do? Okay, I'm gonna go b4. I like b4. I mean, he could consider bishop f6 here. But on knight f6, knight d5, knight d5, e d5, bishop d5, queen e5. Yeah, maybe bishop f6 is the move here. I did not consider bishop f6 on time. Yeah, that's actually scary. Although I could just ignore him and castle because my b4 pawn is defended, and I just play with the bishop here. Now, if he moves the knight anywhere, his rook isn't getting to d1. That I think is certain. So I think bishop f6 is forced. But I've been wrong before, many times. Okay, yes, he didn't play bishop f6. Now the rook is blocked, so now I'm gonna castle. So now he probably has to play knight 1 to d2. And then his rook still doesn't have easy access to d1 because it's blocked by 2 pieces. Now he wants to go knight c4. And I'm thinking I should go a5, a4. I don't see a way for him to prevent that. a5, knight c4, a4. I like that. Where does the knight go? The knight goes to c1. So a5, rook 81, a4, knight c1. And then I can go knight c5 or queen b6. Okay, I'm gonna go a5. I want to put pressure on him if I can. I'm just trying to mess up his development as much as I can. He has to move the rook now, otherwise it's blocked again. I'm taking space on the queen side for what it's worth. I don't think it's worth much, but if I push the pawn to, let's say, a3, then it's going to be useful, or b3. Also, when the knight moves away, when I go knight c5, his bishop doesn't really have a lot of squares, because I can then take on e4. Although I will have to be careful if the rook is on d1. I'm trying to use the fact that the knight is on b3. That's very unnatural for this position. I think rook 81 is the only move here. Because if he doesn't play it, then the knight is going to end up on c1 and the rook is going to be stuck on a1. Okay, he wants the other knight on d2. And I don't have knight c5. Because my e-pawn is hanging. Okay, still I'm gonna push this knight away. Okay, I'm gonna go h6 because I want the bishop to move away to e3, and then I'm gonna try to go rook e8 or even queen c7 or queen b8, maybe queen b8. Wow, okay. Okay, so I have to take with the bishop, otherwise I lose my e-pawn. Okay, I'm very happy to see this, because now my queen has the e7 square. And if he goes knight d6, I still have bishop c6. Okay, bishop c6. If he goes rook c1, I go queen b6. So bishop c6, rook c1, queen b6. Knight c4, queen b7, knight d6. I don't want to give up my bishop pair. If I go knight c5, he takes on b7, knight b7, knight b7. I don't like my knight on b7. And I give up the bishop pair. If bishop c6, rook c1, queen b6. Knight c4. Queen b7, knight d6. That's just a repetition, it seems. Although on rook c1, I could consider knight b8. Huh, okay, I like that. Because then I get to use the d4 square. Okay, so knight b8. I like knight b8. Because if he takes, my knight gets into d4. He would have to go knight f3. And then my queen gets to d4. Or I even take with the pawn, creating a passed pawn. If knight c4, I go bishop e7. And I think the knight is trapped. If knight 2 to c4. Okay, knight f5. Queen g4. I have king h7. Okay, I think rook a7 is the move here. Just developing a piece. I don't think he has a strong threat. On queen g4 I could also consider bishop g5, but I'm not really a big fan of bishop g5. Or I could just take on d3, but that seems... So queen g4, queen d3, knight h6, king h8, queen h3, or sorry, queen h5. Seems winning. I don't think I can take on d3. think rook d7 seems good enough. If the bishop moves, I have I have bishop b5. I don't have bishop b5 here. Because of knight e5. I think I need to get my knight out. So I think bishop a8, knight c6 is my plan. Okay, I'm going bishop a8. I need to get my bishop out of harm's way, and if he moves his bishop away, I'm gonna go knight c6. Takes. Rook d1, knight d4, knight takes, pawn takes. He has e5. Maybe I should have gone bishop g5 here. Bishop g5 makes way more sense. I should have gone bishop g5, forcing one of his knights back. I chased his knights all over the board, but I gave away f5 very early when I played e5. So now his knights are actually better than my bishops. Yeah, I should have gone bishop g5. I didn't even consider that my a pawn was hanging. Yeah, this isn't good. I have no idea what to do. I didn't think about bishop a4 at all. Still, I think I have to go knight c6. I don't see another move. He probably takes on d7, and on bishop a4 I'm gonna go queen a7 and hope for the best. On bishop a4 immediately I have knight d4. This is why I played knight c6. Leaving my queen on d8 was just stupid. I should have played rook c8, queen c7, queen b8. And I'm down to 2 minutes. Ugh. This I'm okay with. I still have the bishop pair. I'm gonna play rook d8. And if he wishes to save a pawn, he needs to play something like bishop b3, which seems strange. And I just want to go knight d4. Get rid of that strong knight on f5 and open up my bishop. If takes, queen takes, rook d1, I have queen e4. I mean, we're both low on time. He can take on e5, but then I take on a2. I'm trying to figure out if I can get away with bishop g5, but I don't think so. Bishop g5, knight e5, bishop e4. If queen e4, then of course bishop c1. Yeah, I'm gonna go king h7. I don't think I can afford that. So knight e5, bishop e5, rook c6. Can I play queen a2? If knight h6, I have mate. If rook h6, then gh6, queen f5 check. Okay, I guess we'll see. So the only thing that worries me is rook h6 check. So if queen a2, rook h6, gh6, does he have anything? Okay, I'm gonna take because I'm running out of time. I don't think he has rook h6. He has f4, but I have queen b1, queen b2 check, or queen a1, queen b2 check. Okay. What now? Okay, I'm just gonna take. He does have f4, but I have bishop d4 check. And if he doesn't mate me, my b pawn is pretty scary. Okay, wants to go rook h6 check, or knight h6. Can I play queen b1, queen e4? Yes. I won the rook. Or we trade queens. Yeah, he has to play queen f3. Sorry, my phone rang. Okay, now, what do we do now? Let's push the pawn. I think I'm outright winning this because I have b2 and rook b1. He messed up in time trouble. Yeah, I have rook b1, rook b8 next, and it's over. He doesn't have a way to cover b1. Yeah. Ugh. I should not have won this game. Oof. So let's see where I went wrong. So this position I know is good for black. Okay, e4, cd4, knight d4. Ah, knight e5. Knight e5. Nah. Yeah. Wait, knight e5, bishop c2. Oof. Knight f g4. Yeah, with bishop c5 makes sense. e5 was a mistake. I should have castled instead of that. Okay, my plan with a5, a4 was good at least. h6 was unnecessary. I should have gone knight c5. Knight c5, bishop c2. Wait, knight c5, knight e5? Knight d3. What happens on knight d3? Ah, bishop a6. So queen d3? What now? Queen d3, knight d3? Why is this good? Ah, okay. Doesn't he have rook e3? Yeah, bishop a6 again. So he needs to go here. Why is this so good? I guess the center is open. Okay. Knight b8 was a mistake, but it's not too bad. Rook a7 was a bad mistake. But I'm still okay. h5? So I'm just preventing queen g4? I don't get this. So what if he just moves the bishop away? Ah, okay, I go h5 g6. Makes sense. Okay, I didn't see that at all, obviously. It worked. Why did it work? I'm losing to very simple double attacks. Okay, sorry. So white is slightly better. 0.5 according to the engine after not using my blunder. After this exchange, black is winning with b3. Queen a2 is equal. Wait, b3, a3, bishop b2 makes sense. Not bishop b2. Queen d1. Okay, let's say the rook moves back. Now I take. What if the rook moves to, let's say, a6? Then I still take. White? Okay. Queen a2 is a blunder. Yeah, no, queen h5 is just bad. He just allowed this trade. And again, I have rook b8 in the end. So whatever he does, I'm queening. Okay, I finally won a game. Wasn't clean, wasn't good, shouldn't have won, but in time trouble, that's what you get. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for more chess, bye bye.